An elderly couple, Margaret and Bert, moved to Wyoming. Bert always wanted a pair of authentic cowboy boots, so, seeing some on sale, he bought them and wore them home. Walking proudly, he sauntered into the kitchen and said to his wife, "Notice anything different about me?" Margaret looked him over. "Nope." Frustrated, Bert stormed off into the bathroom, undressed, and walked back into the kitchen completely naked except for the boots. Again, he asked Margaret, a little louder this time, "Notice anything different now?" Margaret looked up and said in her best deadpan, "Bert, what's different?" "It's hanging down today. It was hanging down yesterday. It'll be hanging down tomorrow." Furious, Bert yelled, "And do you know why it's hanging down, Margaret?" "Nope, not a clue," she replied. "It's hanging down because it's looking at my new boots." Without missing a beat, Margaret replied, "Shoulda bought a hat, Bert. Shoulda bought a hat." A senior couple decides to try Viagra for the first time ever. They have an incredible night together. In the morning, the wife asks her husband at breakfast time, "Would you like some bacon and eggs, a slice of toast, and maybe some grapefruit juice and coffee?" He declines. "Thanks for asking, but I'm not hungry right now. It's this Viagra," he says. "It's really taken the edge off my appetite." At lunchtime, she asks him if he'd like something. "How about a bowl of soup, homemade muffins, or a cheese sandwich?" He declines. "The Viagra," he says, "really trashes my desire for food." Come dinner time, she asks if he wants anything to eat. "Would you like a juicy ribeye steak and some scrumptious apple pie? Or maybe a rotisserie chicken or tasty stir-fry?" He declines again. "No," he says, "it's gotta be the Viagra. I'm still not hungry." "Well," she says, "would you mind letting me up? I'm starving." Walking through a supermarket, a young woman noticed an old lady following him around. She ignored her for a while, but when she got to the checkout line, she got in front of him. "Pardon me," she said. "I'm sorry if I've been staring, but you look just like my daughter who died recently." "I'm sorry for your loss," the young woman replied. "Is there anything I can do for you?" "Well, as I'm leaving, could you just say, 'Goodbye, Mother'? It would make me feel so much better." She gave her a sweet smile. "Of course I can," the young woman promised, touched. As she gathered her bags and left, she called out, "Goodbye, Mother," just as she had requested, feeling good about her smile. Stepping up to the counter, she saw that her total was about $100 higher than it should be. "That amount is wrong," she said. "I only have a few items." "Oh, your mother said that you'd pay for her," explained the clerk. An elderly gentleman went to the local drugstore and asked the pharmacist to fill his prescription for Viagra. "How many do you want?" asked the pharmacist. The man replied, "Just a few, maybe half a dozen." I cut each one into 4 pieces. Upon hearing that, the pharmacist said, "That's too small a dose. That won't get you through intercourse." The old fellow said, "Oh, I'm past 90 years old and I don't even think about that anymore. I just want it to stick out enough so I don't pee on my shoes." An 84-year-old man is sitting on a park bench, sobbing, when a young man walks by and asks him what's wrong. Through his tears, the old man answers, "I'm in love with a 22-year-old woman." "Well, what's wrong with that?" asks the young man. Between his sobs and sniffles, he answers, "You don't understand. Every morning before she goes to work, we make love. At lunchtime, she comes home and we make love again, and then she makes my favorite meal. In the afternoon, when she gets a break, she rushes home and gives me the best time an old man could want. And then at supper time and all night long, we make love." He breaks down, no longer able to speak. The young man puts his arm around him. "I don't understand. It sounds like you have the perfect relationship. Why are you sitting here on this park bench crying?" The senile old man answers, again through his tears, "I can't remember where I live." Grandpa and Grandma were watching the television evangelical show, and the preacher said, if the viewers at home wanted to be healed, place one hand on the television set and the other hand on the body part where they wanted to be healed. Grandma got up and slowly hobbled to the television set, placed her right hand on the set and her left hand on her arthritic shoulder that was causing her to have great pain. Then Grandpa got up, went to the TV, placed his right hand on the set and his left hand on his crotch. Grandma scowled at him and said, "I guess you just don't get it. The purpose of doing this is to heal the sick, not to raise the dead." A small tourist hotel was all abuzz about an afternoon wedding where the groom was 95 years old and the bride was 23. The groom looked pretty feeble, and the feeling was that the wedding night might kill him because his bride was a healthy, vivacious young woman. But lo and behold, the next morning, the bride came down the main staircase slowly, step by step, hanging onto the banister for dear life. She finally managed to get to the counter of the little shop in the hotel. The clerk looked really concerned. "Whatever happened to you, honey? You look like you've been wrestling an alligator." The bride groaned, hung onto the counter, and managed to speak. "Oh, God! He told me he'd been saving up for 75 years, and I thought he meant his money." A woman and a baby were in the doctor's examining room waiting for the doctor to come in for the baby's first exam. Finally, the doctor arrived, examined the baby, checked his weight, and, being a little concerned, asked if the baby was breastfed or bottle-fed. "Breastfed," she replied. "Well, we'll have to check you out. All right then, strip down to your waist," the doctor ordered. She undressed, and the doctor began his exam. He pinched her nipples, then pressed, kneaded, and rubbed both breasts for a while in a detailed examination. He frowned, then continued squeezing and pressing for a few more minutes. Motioning to her to get dressed, he said, "No wonder this baby is underweight. You don't have any milk." "I know," she said. "I'm his grandma, but I'm certainly glad I came." A retired gentleman went into the Social Security office to apply for Social Security. After waiting in line for a long time, he got to the counter. The woman behind the counter asked him for his driver's license to verify his age. He looked in his pockets and realized he had left his wallet at home. He told the woman that he was very sorry, but he seemed to have left his wallet at home. "Will I have to go home and come back now?" he asked. The woman said, "Unbutton your shirt." So he opened his shirt, revealing lots of silver curly hair. She said, "That silver hair on your chest is proof enough for me." And she processed his Social Security application. When he got home, the man excitedly told his wife about his experience at the Social Security office. She sniffed at him. "You should have dropped your pants. You might have qualified for disability too." With their ailing mother needing constant medical supervision, the family decided to bring her to a very expensive and caring nursing home for a day to try it out. The next morning, the nurses bathed her, fed her a tasty breakfast, and set her in a chair at a window overlooking a lovely flower garden. She seemed okay, but after a while, she slowly started to lean over sideways in her chair. Two attentive nurses immediately rushed up to catch her and straighten her out. Again, she seemed okay, but after a while, she started to tilt to the other side. The nurses rushed back and once more brought her back upright. This went on all morning, with the dedicated nurses making sure the old woman didn't fall. Later, the family arrived to see how she was adjusting to her new home. "So, Ma, how is it here? Are they treating you all right?" they asked. "It's very nice," she replied, "except they won't let you fart." A girl is sitting on the couch with her grandpa, and she is looking at his face with a puzzled look. She gets up the nerve to rub her fingers over the wrinkles. She touches her own face and looks more puzzled. The grandpa looks at her and says, "Something on your mind, little one?" The girl thinks a moment and asks, "Grandpa, did God make you?" "He sure did, honey, a long time ago," replies her grandpa. "Well, did God make me?" asks the girl. "Yes, he did, and that wasn't too long ago," answers her grandpa. "Boy," says the little girl, "he's sure doing a lot better job these days, isn't he?" The elderly Italian man went to his parish priest and asked if the priest would hear his confession. "Of course, my son," said the priest. "Well, Father, at the beginning of World War II, a beautiful woman knocked on my door and asked me to hide her from the Germans. I hid her in my attic, and they never found her." "That's a wonderful thing, my son, and nothing that you need to confess," said the priest. "It's worse, Father. I was weak. I asked her to pay for the attic with sexual favors, and she accepted," continued the old man. "Well, it was a very difficult time, and you took a large risk. You would have suffered terribly at their hands of the Germans had they found you hiding her. I know that God, in his wisdom and mercy, will balance the good and the evil and judge you kindly," said the priest. "Thanks, Father," said the old man. "That's a load off my mind. Can I ask another question?" "Of course, my son," said the priest. "Do I need to tell her that the war is over?"